What's up, everybody? It's Jordan, and welcome to the Sports Student Hunt Show. And in this video, I'm going to be continuing my series of doing a 3-round mock draft and a free agency simulation for each NFL team. I just recently finished one doing the New York Giants, and this one is of the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers picked 6th overall in the 2022 draft. So we'll go ahead and get started with this simulation here for a free agency simulation and a 3-round mock draft. This free agency simulation is from fanspeak.com. while the mock draft is from ProFootballNetwork.com. So as we see here with the Panthers, before we have a chance to re-sign some of our guys, we have about $28 million in cap space. And looking at this list, some of the players that we could possibly cut to kind of save some money, I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe end up cutting Cam Urban. That would save them a couple $1 million. And, the Panthers don't have a ton of cap space. And they just, recently re-signed their tight end. So I'll make sure to, re-sign him in this. So it's interesting, with the Panthers and everything, because I think they're capable of having a pretty good team, honestly. I feel like they're just a quarterback away. And that's kind of how they were this past season. They started off 3-0, and then they just went downhill. Darnold started to suck. And then they bring in Cam Newton. He was good for about a game, and that was really about it. So Ian Thomas, like I mentioned, they re-signed him just the other day. I think it was about $6 million for 3 seasons. In my opinion, I think this was a little bit of overpay. It's kind of surprising because, they do have Tommy Tremble, the promising tight end. They recently drafted from, I believe, Notre Dame. And something else with Thomas, it's like you give him $6 million. So after this, since we cut Urban, we still have $26 million. But that's not a lot at all for a team who needs several pieces to contend in their division. I think they're capable of, competing in the NFC South this season, especially, when you look at the Buccaneers, everything is going bad for them. Tom Brady retired. L.A. Marpet just retired the other day. So when you look at it, I feel like the Panthers, if they just had more cap space, I feel like I would be much more confident in them. Hassan Reddick, he's a great player on their team. We're going to try to re-sign him. He's going to be tough to re-sign him. We'll try $12 million, which honestly I think this might be a little bit of an underpay. So we'll have the guarantee price pretty high. So 3 seasons, and we do 85% guarantee. And then that's one of the things on here. It's like sometimes you kind of have to put the guarantee money like a ton. Or maybe at times you even have to overpay somebody to, re-sign with your team or sign with them, especially when you don't have a ton of cap space. Or if you look at a rebuilding team or something like that, you don't have a ton of players who are good. But I don't really think that's the case with the Panthers. DJ Moore is one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL. McCaffrey is one of the best running backs in the NFL. And I feel like they have the pieces. They just need a quarterback, and I really think they can use an offensive line as well. Sam Darnold and Newton struggle with a poor offensive line this past season with Carolina. And that's really the main focus I want to be, targeting in free agency-wise. Because I don't think they attack their quarterback need in free agency. I think that's much more likely to possibly happen in the draft. Looking at the centers here, I feel like they could really use a center. Ryan Jensen stands out to me, and also Ben Jones. Ryan Jensen is better of the two. I wouldn't be surprised if Jensen got anywhere from $9 to maybe $11 million. Ben Jones, I feel like he's going to be the cheaper option, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers maybe did that, so they could still have a little bit money left over to sign somebody else. Because if you sign Jensen, you're going to have as much money to sign someone. So we'll try to sign Ben Jones here for, let's say, 7.5 for 3 seasons. And we will have the percentage guarantee at 80. They could just really use offensive linemen pretty much just everywhere. It's been really bad this past year. Looking at the guards here, there's a couple guards that really stand out. I like a lot. Quentin Spain, I like him. Being a Bengals fan, I think he's severely underrated. But I don't think he'll sign with the Panthers. I think that's a good chance that he'll probably end up re-signing with Cincinnati. Laken Tomlinson, A.J. Kane, like I mentioned, both those guys are very talented. Andrew Norwell, Brendan Sharif, obviously those guys are great, but I think that's a little bit too much out of Carolina's price range. I want to try A.J. Kane here for $5.5 million. We will try just a let's say a 1-year contract, type of a prove it deal type of deal. He plays really good, this season for Carolina. Maybe they can sign him to a long-term deal. But as we continue here, looking at some of these offensive linemen, there's not really a ton of guys that stand out. Riley Reef, that's an interesting one there. As we continue here, obviously, Cam Irvin, like we already mentioned, already cut him earlier. There's not a lot of guys here on tackles. This is much more of a offseason where there's far more better interior offensive linemen like center or guards than there are offensive tackles. I want to try Riley Reef here. We'll try $5 million for Riley Reef. That's about what his contract was this past season with Cincinnati, which I don't think is a bad contract at all. Keep in mind, Riley Reef is coming off of a season-ending injury this season with Cincinnati. We'll try 5 years. And I would want to do like a 1-year contract to a prove it deal because, I believe he's like 31 years old and he's coming off an injury. But we just signed AJ Kane to a 1-year deal. So I want to try to do a 2-year deal for Riley Reef. And we'll do a 80% guarantee there. Hopefully we're able to sign those guys. Because if not, there's not a lot of depth when it comes to for tackles, like I mentioned in free agency. So Riley Reef declined our deal. AJ Kane declined their deal, kind of surprises me there. But we were able to sign Ben Jones to a 3-year contract worth $7.5 million. We only have $11 million left. Like, that is not good at all. I mean, we've re-signed 2 guys, and we signed literally 1 outside free agent. And that's the thing. Like, I don't think the Panthers are capable of making lots of moves this offseason because they don't have the cap space. I still want to try to get a guard here. I want to try to bump up AJ Kane's price range. I believe I had him at 5.5. We'll try 6.5 here. Because honestly, 5.5 might be a little low balling, a little too low there for AJ Kane. We'll bump it up to 2 years as well. Percentage guarantee, we'll do 85. So let's see if we're able to get him. We are able to get AJ Kane to a 2-year contract worth $6.5 million per season. So we're able to get AJ Kane and Ben Jones. We have $6 million left. And something interesting when it comes to, salary and everything like that in cap space. You normally save about $5 million for rookie draft picks. The Carolina Panthers do not have a second or third round pick this season. So I feel like we can kind of, maybe only save, 2 or 3 if we have to, stuff like that, and not as much because we don't have as many draft picks, not going to have as much, cap space going towards these, rookie draft picks. So let's go ahead and try to get a guy. I want to try Riley Reef again. Try to get a guy like Riley Reef here. We'll try $5.5 million. 1-year contract, and we'll put 90% guarantee on it. Because I feel like that's pretty good for Riley Reef. Good contract for him. He declined their offer. I don't know why he would do that, honestly. Kind of surprises me. Especially a guy who's over 30, coming off a season-ending injury. As soon as any other tackles here, obviously Teron Armstead, they are not in the price range to get Armstead. He is horrible. Jason Peters, I wouldn't be surprised if he retired. There's not many, tackles that are really intriguing, in my opinion. Guards, like I said, is a completely different story. Let's see here. There's honestly not a ton of guys. Let's try to maybe look at some defensive guys. No, I've mainly been focusing on offensive line here so far. Let's maybe look at some guys in this secondary. Is anybody cheap there? So we have, Darius Phillips, Kyle Fuller, Joe Hayden, Stephon Gilmore. I don't know what the Panthers would do with him. Obviously, they were able to get him in during the season for a trade. Maybe they can try to re-sign him, but like I said, it's one of those situations where they don't have a lot of cap space. I mean, if you re-sign Gilmore, you're basically out of cap space, and there's a chance you might not even be able to sign one of those guys. Very few people that we've signed, like re-signing Ian Thomas, Hassan Reddick, Ben Jones, and AJ Kane. Instead of not getting secondary guys, instead of for making up for us not re-signing Stephon Gilmore, I want to try to get Kyle Fuller here. I think Kyle Fuller is a very serviceable corner in the NFL. I'm going to try $5 million for Kyle Fuller for a 1-year contract. See if we'll take that there. If he is, I think that'd be great. And he declined their offer. This kind of sucks for the Panthers here. Trying to make some moves for them on the offensive line to really help, whoever the quarterback will be. And also trying to help their secondary, but it's kind of hard to when some of these guys are not wanting to sign with Carolina. So we look at the corner list here. Jason Verrett, Jason McCourty, Patrick Peterson. I want to try Kyle Fuller again because some of these guys are not nearly as talented as Kyle Fuller. Try bump it up to $6 million for 1-year contract. Percentage guarantee, we go 95. That's my biggest offer I would do for Kyle Fuller. If he doesn't accept it, I'll go to somebody else. He did accept it. So, Panthers have $500,000 in cap space. So obviously they're going to have to, cut maybe a guy or two so they can create cap space for some of their rookies. Very few rookies that they will have in the 2022 draft class. So, this, free agency mock for the Panthers honestly was not good at all because they don't have a lot of cap space and you don't know who's going to end up re-signing with them. I tried to offer multiple people multiple contracts and they declined them. So we were able to re-sign Ian Thomas like the Panthers already did just the other day. We were able to re-sign Hassan Reddick. We were able to acquire, Ben Jones, AJ Kane, and Kyle Fuller in free agency, getting some outside guys from Carolina, not in Carolina, excuse me. So looking at this mock draft here, like I said, this mock draft is very interesting. It's from ProFootballNetwork.com. And the Carolina Panthers do not have a second or third round pick. And, there's been talks about them possibly being in the Kirk Cousins sweepstakes. I don't get that at all. Like, if you have a crappy offensive line, why would you want Kirk Cousins, who's one of the very few pocket passers left in the NFL, who's one of the slowest quarterbacks left in the NFL? I just don't understand that because he's going to have to be running for his life. And he's not going to be able to run because he's so slow. So looking at this list here, in my opinion, I think this is kind of, not likely to happen. Top 5, there's no quarterback, and Kenyon Green was available. Kenyon Green was picked at 5. I think it's a little bit of a reach for him there. But the Panthers need a quarterback. Obviously, stating the obvious, they need a quarterback and offensive line. We already addressed offensive line and free agency. Quarterback, I think it's possible they take Malik Willis here. But when you look at the Panthers, with them not having a second or third round pick, don't be surprised if the Carolina Panthers trade back to acquire more picks to get some more young talent for this group of this team. When you look at the Panthers, them not having a second or third round pick is major because when you look at teams above them, look at the Jets. The Jets have 2 top 10 picks. Sort of the New York Giants. They're picking ahead and after the Carolina Panthers. And the fact that the Panthers only have 1 pick in the top, basically 100, is a major problem for them. So I wouldn't be surprised if they trade back with somebody. Maybe the Steelers. The Steelers like Malik Willis a lot, and if the Panthers were to go back, they would get some. I'm sure they would get some more picks, maybe in a second round, third round. Maybe they would get a first round pick for next season. And they need a quarterback really bad. And I feel like the only quarterback that really makes sense here at 6, as of right now, would be Malik Willis. But I still don't know drafting a quarterback this early. Kind of hesitant on it. I don't do trades on my mock draft simulators because they're way too hard to predict. I feel like they're unrealistic. But when you look at the Panthers, if they trade back, I'm looking at Kenny Pickett a ton because I don't feel like this is being talked about enough. I'm sure people, around Carolina and Panthers fans have discussed this and talked about this so many times when it comes to mock drafts. Kenny Pickett years ago originally committed to Temple University while current Carolina Panthers head coach Matt Rule was still the head coach at Temple University. To me, I feel it's something that's very intriguing. I feel like we should keep an eye on that as we get close to the draft time, and could possibly, have a effect on who the Panthers might draft in the draft if they take a quarterback here in the first round. So to me, I won't be surprised if the Carolina Panthers trade back and take Kenny Pickett. I think that's likely to happen. Last season, the San Francisco 49ers, shot the NFL by trading into the top 3 and getting Trey Lance. I called the 49ers trading up for months and months and months before it happened. And I feel like if there's going to be one huge trade in the NFL this season, don't be surprised if a quarterback-needy team trades up with the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers get some extra draft picks, and they could also get the quarterback of the future. I think that's very likely to happen. And since I don't do trades, ultimately, I think the Carolina Panthers will end up taking Kenny Pickett. I want to take him here. I know they will not take him at 6. I almost guarantee you the Panthers will not take Kenny Pickett at Kenny 6. I think that I think they will take him, if they trade back. But I will take him because ultimately, if they pick around the 15 to 20 range, where I think that's possible, where they could possibly end up trading back, I think they will take Kenny Pickett there. So I think that's a good selection. I know it's at the reach at 6. That's why I think they're going to trade back and still take Pickett from Pittsburgh. I think it's a great quarterback and a great selection for the Carolina Panthers. Like I said, I do not personally believe he will be drafted the 6th overall pick, but I'm drafting him because I think the Panthers will trade back and take him. I'm just going to go ahead and take him because I don't do trades in these. These are way too unrealistic and really hard to predict. So I think that is a great idea and great scenario for the Carolina Panthers here. So looking at their 2022 schedule, we'll kind of look at this and see how many wins I personally think they're going to end up having. So let's see here. We have the Falcons, obviously at the Falcons, at Baltimore, Falcons at home, Saints and Buccaneers at home, Cardinals, 49ers, Browns, Steelers at Cincinnati, at the Rams, at the Saints, at the Buccaneers, at Seattle, Broncos, Lions, and Giants. So looking at here, I kind of take these in groups of 4. Falcons, Ravens, Falcons, and Saints. I think they can win 2 of those games. So that's 2 wins so far. But it just really depends on the quarterback and offensive line situation. So let's say 2 wins right there. So we have the Buccaneers, Cardinals, 49ers, and Browns. Honestly, I don't think they will win any of those 4. I think it's possible they can maybe get upset in one of those. But I'm just it's kind of hard to predict a team when you don't know the future of the quarterback type of deal. As we continue here, Steelers, Bengals, Rams, and Saints. I feel like they can maybe get one there. Maybe shock the Steelers, Cincinnati. Maybe beat the Saints. Having a new head coach, they don't know their quarterback situation. So that'll be 3 wins from the season so far. Then we have the Buccaneers, Seahawks, Broncos, Lions, and Giants. Let's see here. I really think they can maybe get 3 or 4 there. So let's say about 6 or 7 wins for the Panthers. I feel like this team is so frustrating. I picked this team to be having 8-9 wins this past season. They are capable of it. I think they can, reach that 8-9 win mark. But it's hard to predict them when you don't know who the quarterback is. But as of right now, I want to say the Panthers for the 2022 season, they have about 6 or 7 wins for the 2022 year. So that was kind of my Carolina Panthers, free agency, simulation in a 3-round mock draft from ProFootballNetwork.com. If you're new to the channel, if you've seen my videos before, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I would really, really appreciate it. And I will see you all next time on the Sports Dude Hines Show.